What is up, folks? I am here today for my Week 5 match of the PPFC, and today we are going up against none other than the Don. Yes, that is right. The very creator of this draft league is my opponent for today. Quite possibly the strongest battler I can face in this draft league. A battle between brothers, and only one can emerge victorious. Who will come out on top? Well, we will find out shortly, but before all that, of course, if you guys do enjoy these Draft League videos, which I have been quite enjoying making them, and I hope you guys have been enjoying them as well, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe, all that good stuff. You already know, helps me out quite a bit, and I really do appreciate it. But yes, let us jump right in, as we always do, to the team builder, so I can go over my my team, what we brought this week. So strap in, folks, because we're in for a doozy today. We got a lot to cover, not just the team but the match itself. So to start off, let me just say, so this team I have here was not my first draft. Get it? My first go at making a team versus Matt. I had initially my team was looking very different. It was a lot more defensive. I had stuff like Toxapex, Heatran. I had physically defensive Cryogonal with the Terra to try to wall back Excalibur. My idea was like, okay, I try to have switch-ins for all the threats on his team, because he has a lot of threats on his team. He's got the Excalibur, he's got Thundurus, he's got Lycanroc with Terra. He's got a lot of very scary Pokemon. So my initial idea was just to try to soak up hits as well as I can. But then I sat down and thought about it, and I kind of came to this realization or conclusion that I was like, I don't think if I bring that sort of team versus Matt, I just don't think I'll be able to come out on top in the end. I still think I lose, because I feel like his team's just way too powerful, and like if I try to like wall it and try to just like beat it that way, I feel like I'm not gonna succeed. I'm just gonna get picked apart slowly, and I'm gonna end up losing. So I ultimately decided against that more bulky type of playstyle, and I decided, well, if I'm not able to wall his team successfully, then I think my next best chance would be to out offense him, if at all possible. So I ended up deciding to bring an extremely aggressive offensive team instead of the initial plan, which was to bring more bulk. The idea was just like hit as hard as I can, and like just output more damage than he can, and just like basically try to outplay and position myself to where I can I have answers that can threaten his biggest threats on his team. Essentially was the idea, and using this type of team meant that I would have to be very, very aggressive, and I had to make very bold predictions, right? Because the thing with these very offensive teams, you don't have good switch-ins most of the time, so I needed to, if he was going to bring in something that was scary, right, that could really threaten my team, I would need to be able to predict that and, switch around accordingly. Basically, do my best to make sure he doesn't get any momentum, that I can just, I'm always in a better position than he is pretty much for the whole match, so I can keep putting on more pressure on him than he can on me. Is the basic idea behind it. So I would have to play very, very well with this team. I would have to make very good predicts, and I would have to switch around very, very correctly. So it was a bit of pressure in bringing a team like this, but I really thought it was my best shot at beating him, because again, I didn't think the bulkier route would work in the end. So I figured, all right, let's just full send this team and just like hope we can make it work. I can make the right plays I need to, and hopefully I can come out on top. That was basically the idea. So first of all, we have Enamorus, of course, you already know. Also, as you can see, I didn't, I forgot the nickname these Pokemon on my team, because I was a little bit in a hurry, but don't you worry, I'll have those nicknames all sorted out again next week. Anywho, we got Enamorus, of course. Enamorus, obviously, offensive fairy, I've found is just almost always good, because there's just not a whole lot I can switch into, besides, you know, the obvious steel and poison types, but of course Enamorus has earth power for those, so it's all good regardless. So again, Moonblast, earth power, just the coverage, phenomenal. Superpower was mainly, I don't really think like the coverage helped me out very much. I didn't really need it. It was mainly for defense boost. If I had the chance where I could click it against something that like would have been weak to it, like I don't know, like Excalibur, Treads, maybe, if I, you know, if they were coming in, or well, I don't know why if you switch those in on an Amorous, but basically I just had it, so if there was ever a situation I could click Superpower, I could get a defense boost, and that would be very, very good. If I could do that, because I have to worry about on his team, he has very strong priority in the form of stuff like Ice Shard on Excalibur and a Solar Rock on Lycanroc, and obviously Enamorus doesn't appreciate those, being a flying type, so I figured if I could get a defense boost, and like I would be able to take those priority hits way better, and it would be a lot less scary for Enamorus. I run an Expert Belt because I needed some sort of boosting item in order to one-shot Excalibur with Moonblast reliably, and I didn't want to run Specs because I didn't like being locked in, and I didn't want to run Life Orb because I didn't like the recoil, so I decided on Expert Belt would be the best bet, because it still does give enough of a boost that it can one-shot Excalibur, so I was fine with that. We got enough speed for Thundurus. I could have went all in on speed and try to speed tie Iron Treads if he ran max speed on that thing, but I didn't really think it was worth risking it, because I mean, maybe it could have been a chance where it would have been Enamorus in on Treads, and I kind of had to risk the speed tie and click Earth Power. That is a scenario that could happen, I suppose, but I'm not really interested in risking a speed tie like that if I can avoid it, so I decided I'm not even going to bother to invest the EVs and go max speed. I decided instead I would just save the rest of the EVs I have for defense, just because I thought I liked the little bit of extra bulk. Again, being able to take any priority hits aimed at Enamorus any better than it would otherwise is very, very welcome for me. Yeah, max special attack, obviously. I had Healing Wish for last, which is kind of just like filler, honestly. I was thinking about a lot of different moves to run in this last slot. I thought like Taunt, maybe, because he does have Florges, which I thought could be annoying, so if I could taunt that thing, then maybe I could muscle past it. But then I ran into Calx, and I was like, yeah, I don't think Enamorus does enough damage to Florges for that to really be worth it. I thought about Draining Kiss for the recovery, and then I was like, wait a second, maybe Healing Wish could potentially be useful in this like very aggressive team I'm running. If I need to, if I deem it that Enamorus is less essential than someone else on my team, I could go for Healing Wish, and if one of my mons is low or just like, you know, injured, I can just Healing Wish and heal him back to full, and that could potentially be very, very beneficial for my team if I was in a bad spot. That could help me turn things around. So I thought Healing Wish, hey, maybe could be useful, so I just decided to put that on, and yeah, that's basically Enamorus. And then Salamence is again just very aggressive, offensive. So as far as Dragon Resist goes, he had like Iron Treads and Florges, and that was mainly it, I think. So I had coverage boost for both of those respectively. Got the Earthquake and Iron Head just to put a dent in those, and of course just Dragon Stab. Got Dragon Claw and Outrage. I kind of had to run Outrage because Dragon Claw actually does not guaranteed get the kill on Excalibur, which is very unfortunate. So I decided I should probably have Outrage just so I can get that kill reliably. I thought about running Draco and like having a mix set, and like maybe Draco could pick up the kill, but I thought I think I just went with Outrage instead, just because, like, I mean, at the very least, like, Outrage is very risky, but at least, you know, say like his dragon resists are dead or weakened, then Outrage could still output a lot of damage onto his team, besides just the Baxcalibur. So I thought, hey, I mean, why not? May as well. I just really wanted to be able to Oko the Baxcalibur, because that thing is a menace, and I do not appreciate it at all. Just the offensive ice plus dragon is just really, really hard for my team in general, so I just wanted all the precautions I could have for Baxcalibur. Speaking of which, we have the Yachi Berry on Mence, because, Ice Shard, again, very scary, especially for Salamence, because he's quad weak, so I figured Yachi Berry let me, take it fairly well, and be able to kill back with Outrage or whatever would have been very useful. We got the Intimidate just to weaken Baxcalibur or whatever I want to switch it into and just drop its attack. That would be very useful. Just help again with Ice Shard, just like taking hits in general. A Celerock again from Lycanroc. We just got max attack, enough speed for Bax. Yes, Bax. I could have sped crept stuff like Moltres or like Haunter on his team that he had, but I didn't think it was that worth it, because one, I wasn't that sure like how likely those mons would be a bring anyway if he was gonna bring them. Thought it was like relatively unlikely, so I didn't know if it was worth investing just to outspeed them. But also there was like mons like that I wasn't that worried about in the first place. I was like, I have other ways I can deal with them, so I didn't really deem it necessary to need to invest those EVs to try to outspeed them, and instead I just dumped them into defense, just to again, Ice Shard, a Celerock, or whatever physical attack might come out in Salamence. The extra defense EVs plus the Intimidate helped me out a lot in that scenario. So these two are basically just like here to like, they just main job is just to like just output damage, just like bust some holes into his team with just strong moves, and just try to soften things up so that hopefully one of the other guys could clean up late game, such as Gallade here. So Gallade is back after, I think I haven't used him since week 1, but he's back. We got the Choice Scarf set today because Gallade doesn't have a great speed tier against his team, so I figured if I had the Choice Scarf, then I'd be faster than pretty much everything outside of like any boosts he might have had, or if he was running his own Scarfer. Gallade could outspeed basically everything, which I was a big fan of. So we got the main idea, as always with Gallade, I feel like it's just clicking Sacred Sword as much as possible with the stab, sharpness boosted, does a lot of damage. Fighting coverage is really good into his biggest threats. I feel like the Baxcalibur, Iron Treads, and Lycanroc, none of them appreciate Sacred Sword at all, so I was a big fan of that. And then just some coverage moves to hit any of the mons he had that can resist Sacred Sword, mainly Night Slash for his Slowbro and Poison Jab for his Florges, just to get some good damage in on those. And then the last move is Teleport, which you might be thinking, Sean, why do you have Teleport on a Scarf Gallade? Well, for the last move I was debating like another coverage move, like maybe Ice Punch to hit Thunderous, because that could also switch in on Sacred Sword, but I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be clicking that move anyway, in most scenarios, like, because for one thing, I feel like Thunderous still doesn't appreciate Sacred Sword that well, and also, like, I wasn't sure if it was worth just having it take up a move slot. There wasn't many situations I felt like I was going to click it, so I thought, I was like, what if instead, because Gallade does get Teleport, so maybe I could use that to my advantage, because again, with this matchup, I needed to keep up momentum at all costs. I could not let Matt put himself in a good position that put me at a disadvantage. I needed to always have momentum, and I figured having Teleport wouldn't be a bad idea in that situation, because it does let me just switch out and see what he does and then bring in something else. Now granted, Teleport is pretty risky, especially on Gallade, because it is negative priority, and I am this is an offensive set, so like I would basically only click this. Typically, like, it would be like if I knew he was switching out and I wanted to see what he switched into. So another move that's like I would need to really commit and like make a good predict and read what he was doing. Which I thought to myself, maybe like I don't know if it's that worth it, because like if I'm gonna predict him to swap, then I could at that point just like click a coverage move for whatever I think he's switching into, as opposed to teleport. It's also like, well, if I teleport, what do I bring in a lot of the time? Because it's like I feel like normally Galay, it's not like a mon I want to switch out, it's the mon I want to bring in. So having teleport on him maybe doesn't make the most sense on it, but I decided, you know what, screw it. I don't really know what else to run on him, because again, I wasn't feeling another coverage move, and I was just like, you know what, it's cool tech, and you know, maybe it'll be useful. So I just said screw it, let's keep it. So we got enough speed to, I think, outspeed Lycanroc always with Scarf. Max speed Lycanroc, because I didn't really feel like speed. Didn't really seem necessary to speed creep anything else, because you know I wasn't gonna outspeed something like Scarf Moltres or like +1 backs anyway. So there wasn't really a point trying to speed creep that. So then we just got max attack Adamant just for as much damage as possible, and then a little bit extra defense. Again, just to, because he got a lot of threatening physical attackers with priority, so I figured, you know, just take any of those hits as well as like possibly could. And Glade actually isn't like a bad switch in for like his Lycanroc, for instance, because it does resist the rock moves like Stone Edge and Close Combat. So like it could, if I really needed to, it could take a hit, and then like it could come in Scarf, Sacred Sword, stuff like that. So yeah, Glade was my Scarfer, and it was just like general kind of cleanup mon, revenge killer type deal. And then we have Diancie, and this set is really cool. I'm really proud of this set. So initially, when I was back my first draft of the team I was going to bring for Matt, I had Diancie because I was like, I think, because he got the Moltres, the Galarian Moltres, and I thought Diancie is like easily my best switch in for that thing. So it'd probably be useful to bring it just in case. So then I like kind of gravitated towards like this Assault Vest set, just to take hits. And then, you know, I had coverage for his team. Because I was looking at his team and I was like, wow, actually like Rock and Fairy coverage is like really good into his guys, because he's got a lot of Rock weeks like Excalibur, Thunderous, Moltres. He's got Fairy weeks like again backs. What else? Fairy weak. Actually, did he have, wait, what else was Fairy weak? I don't know, something, whatever. Point is, he had a lot. Oh, Decidueye. He had Hisui and Decidueye. Yes, that was another Fairy weak mon on his team. So he didn't have a lot for that coverage besides Iron Treads. So I figured, well, I could run Body Press, and then like that could hit Iron Treads. And if I had Diamond Storm, if I got the defense boost, that would, for one thing, help me take hits better versus Iron Treads, and also would let my Body Press do more damage. So I was like, you know, I was cooking up this Diancie, so I was like, ooh, okay, I'm liking where this is going. But then I was like, well, I could have like Draining Kiss for a last move, just like get some recovery back. But then I thought about it, I was like, wait a second, because the moveset I think was like Diamond Storm, Body Press, Draining Kiss, Moonblast for the 4 moves. But I was like, wait a second, what if instead of Assault Vest, what if I just run Calm Mind instead? Because that way, for one thing, I don't have to run Assault Vest. I can run like Leftovers, which would give me more longevity, but also could let me set up my special attack and special defense, in addition to getting defense boost from Diamond Storm, which, you know, that lets me set up my defenses on the physical and special side, and also let me boost my Drain Kiss after some Calm Minds, so that way I would be healing back more HP. So ultimately, that's why I decided on running this setup set. The idea was just like, okay, get the NC in whenever I can potentially set up, get the Diamond Storm defense boost, get Calm Mind boost, and then my Body Press and Draining Kiss does a bunch of damage, and I'm super bulky, and I can just take hits and like dish out damage and basically try to maybe sweep his team. Was the idea, because I thought, you know, if the possibility to possibly set up sweep, seems very, very attractive to me. I like the idea of it, so that's what I decided to rock out with on Diancie. So as far as the EVs go, kind of all over the place. Got max HP just for bulk, a little bit of attack EVs just for like more consistent damage with Diamond Storm against stuff like Thunderous or Moltres and that sort of thing. A little bit of special defense helps me out, like I could set up easier with Calm Mind and stuff on stuff like Thunderous or Florges or stuff like that. I had just enough at speed to outspeed Dunsparce in case that needed to be a thing. I could just come in and body press it. So there's that, and then I just had like the rest basically defense, just try to take physical hits as well as possible, but also just boost my body presses and stuff like that. So that was the thought process with Diancie. And then we have Ting Lu, who's basically his whole purpose here is he's just like hazardly just set up all my spikes, get rocks up, and just like that's basically it. He's just basically here to get up hazards because Matt has a very like bulky offense type of team. He's got like all these hard hitters like Excalibur, Thunderous, etc. But he's also got these monsters that can pivot out, like Iron Treads with Volt Switch, Thunderous again with U-Turn. He's got like Baton Pass on Florges and Dunsparce, U-Turn on Moltres. All these pivoting moves. So I figured if I could get hazards up, then I could punish those pivoting moves and make it a lot harder for him to switch around, which I thought was a very, very good idea. Let me put on more pressure indirectly on his team, and could help me just soften things up so I can just deal more damage and just like made it easier for the potential to sweep later on. That was the whole idea basically. So yeah, I just like this is kind of a whatever. EV spread, just max HP, max defense, just take hits well. I wasn't really like, I wasn't interested in like keeping Ting Lu around because I wasn't trying to like again, I wasn't on that like like try to stall out his team sort of thing. Like that wasn't the game plan at this point, so I wasn't that worried about Ting Lu surviving. I do have Citrus Berry just so like I could get some HP back if I need to, just so I can like try to get up all my hazards. But that was basically, I had no intention of Ting Lu living long, really. He was just there to get up my hazards pretty much. Ruination is there just to get some chip on whatever comes in. If I need chip, can do a good half to whatever is out against him, and just like I don't need to like worry about attack EVs or whatever, like resisting or whatnot. I could just like click it, do 50%, and then it's just pretty cool. And then lastly, I had Memento. At first, I had Whirlwind because I figured Whirlwind, that's like what Ting Lu does, and normally you have it to stop stuff from setting up on you, right? Because Ting Lu's very passive mon, so like it's kind of invites Pokemon to set up, and I figured, well, probably be worth having that, so stuff like Excalibur or Lycanroc or Thunderous or whatever doesn't try to set up on me, right? But then I thought about it for a bit, and I was like, well, wait a second, because Whirlwind is there, so like I can click it, and like if there's something out that's scary, I can bring in something else that hopefully I could deal with better. But I was looking at his team, and I was like, this is like, he's got like pretty much almost all his mons have something to deal with Ting Lu. Like he's got obviously Excalibur with the Ice Stab, Iron Treads could have Ice Spinner, Thunderous could have Focus Blast, he's got like Moon Blast on Florges, Close Combat and Play Rough on the Lycanroc, Grass and Fighting Stab on his Decidueye. So I was like, there's like, in most scenarios, if I Whirlwind something out, odds are it's gonna bring in something else that's can hurt Ting Lu. And that's like, at that point, it's like I didn't really see what was worth it besides like trying to stop setup, because if whatever I Whirlwind out, it's probably just going to threaten Ting Lu anyway. So I thought, what was the point? But then I was like, wait a second, Ting Lu does get Memento, and normally you'd like never run Memento on a Ting Lu because obviously it knocks you out when you go for it, and the whole point of Ting Lu normally is that it's like a wall. So you don't normally just want to sack it like that. But again, Ting Lu is just here to get up hazards and not much else. So I was not that concerned if he went down or not. And I figured, hey, if I do click Memento, then like that does drop their attack and special attack. So if they are trying to set up, that is a way to get around it. So I thought, hey, might not be a bad idea to bring, honestly. Which is funny because you would almost never bring this move on Ting Lu, but desperate times call for desperate measures, I suppose. So yeah, that's him. And then last but not least, we have Decidueye, who his whole purpose here is just to spin block, because he's my ghost type. He's just here because he does have the Iron Treads. So if I was quite certain he was gonna bring that. So I figured, have Decidueye and just like I can always come in and stop the rapid spin, because again, I just wanted to get my hazards up, because I thought that'd be super crucial for this match, and I did not want him to just like get rid of him like that. So I thought having a spin blocker would be very, very useful indeed. So I do have the Terra Ghost, just because he's here for rapid spin blocking, right? So he's got to be a ghost type, but also turning into a pure ghost could be helpful, because again, this thing's mainly here to come out against Iron Treads, and he could be running Ice Spinner on that thing, which would obviously be super effective on Decidueye because it's a grass type. So if I could get rid of the grass typing and just be pure ghost, then I thought that would be useful in that matchup. I have Colbur Berry just I can take a knockoff or whatever from Treads, or any ghost move really, but mainly knockoff, and not have to worry about it doing that much damage. Just like have my berry reduce the damage and just take the hit relatively easy. And then yes, I have U-turn for, again, momentum. I don't want to just let him bring in stuff for free or whatever. I always want to have the advantage in this match whenever possible, so having U-turn, I can just click it, switch out, bring something in very easily. Always good for these offensive teams, never bad to have. Defog, just in case, like I thought, if his hazards got out of hand, because it is, obviously, like I said, I want my hazards up whenever possible, but at the same time I thought, okay, well, I do have Enamorous and Mence, and both of those guys do not appreciate Stealth Rock, and I'm not running boots on either of them, so maybe in some scenarios it might be better for me to click Defog and sacrifice my own hazards just for the sake of getting rid of rocks or whatever hazards you might have up against me, if just in case, if I deemed it necessary. I just thought it'd be nice to have that hazard removal. Knockoff, just for general utility, it's good. Just gets rid of items, just helps out. Useful utility. And then a Roost for the last move, just for some recoveries, just so Decidueye has some staying power. And then Long Reach that's not really for anything. It's just like Overgrow's not going to do anything, so I have no grass moves, so I just figured just go with that instead. So Decidueye was just here to make sure that he could just sit in front of Iron Treads and just make sure he will never get a rapid spin off. So yeah, that was the whole idea, just having the berry to take knockoff, being able to turn pure ghost to take an Ice Spinner if he has it, and Roost for longevity, just be able to make sure I have Decidueye around that he can take hits from Treads and just block the rapid spin at all costs. And I just have a max physically defensive spread here, just to help out in that endeavor. So that is the team, and now let us finally get into the match proper versus the Don. So looking at his team, he had stuff that I was expecting him to bring, that I was very, very, very certain would come, like the Baxcalibur, the Iron Treads, and the Lycanroc. I thought all of those were coming guaranteed. He also has the Salazzle, which I also thought was a likely bring. And the moment I saw this, I knew exactly what he was running on this, because I was like, if he's bringing Salazzle, there's no other, the main reason he would want it is for the Toxic Stall set, because I have Pex and Heatran on my team, and that's those are the two mons you would want the Toxic Stall Salazzle to have against, because obviously Salazzle's ability is Corrosion, so it can poison the Steel types and the Poison types, like Pex and Heatran, for instance. So I thought, if he wanted to just bring Salazzle and just poison those guys and stall them out, I thought was a very, very likely possibility, and he did in fact end up bringing the Salazzle. So I knew right away, it was he has to have that Toxic Stall set with just Toxic, Protect, substitute or whatever, just to wear him down, because I was like, if he's gonna bring Salazzle, that's like definitely the set he's gonna bring versus my team. There's no way he brings something else, because that set is just like really, really good into my team. So right away I knew to look out for that. He also had the Slowbro, which I wasn't totally sure if he was gonna bring, but I figured there was merit to it, because it does kind of block my Heatran I have. It's a pretty good answer for that. And also, it's his best, probably, I would say his best switch into Glade, just because it's a bulky Psychic type, very physically defensive, so I figured, that's, like, not the most surprising thing. But he did it, end up bringing the Hisuian Decidueye, and this caught me way off guard when I saw this at the team preview, because I did not expect this thing to come at all. I thought this was a very unlikely candidate, just because I felt like I have so much stuff to deal with it. I have Enamorus, Salamence, my own Decidueye, even just like a lot of stuff that can deal with it fairly well, like even like Toxapex. So I wasn't quite sure what he was planning to do with that thing, but I knew, like, because when I saw it, I was like, okay, he's got to have something cooking with this thing, right? He has to have some sort of plan, so I was on the lookout for that thing. I was a little bit cautious, because I just didn't know what to expect, really. So yes. Now let us get into the match proper, shall we? So, turn 1, I just lead with my Tanglu, because again, he's just here for hazards. I did not put him in the front of my team, because I figured if I did that, perhaps it would be a little too obvious what I was trying to get at. So I had him in the back just for the mind games, But he was always like my intended lead, just to send him out, get up hazards, and then probably just go down, and then just like hit stuff from there. So he leads with his Salazzle, and I was like, okay, this is pretty much perfect, right? Because he's just gonna like try to poison me and just like stall me out, right? Because if he sees Tinglu, he's like, oh, let me poison this thing and like whittle it down, which is like normally that'd be great, but I'm like, I don't even care, because like, again, I'm not here, my Tinglu's not meant to survive and like stick around. I just want him to get up the hazard. So I was like, he can poison me if he wants, I don't even care, I'm just gonna start getting my hazards up. So he does in fact go for the poison, as I just click rocks, and again, this is perfectly fine for me. I do not care what he wants to do to me. So he does switch out to Bro. I guess, possibly being afraid of the ground move, or just like, well, actually no, because he had the air balloon. So but if it, probably just like a good it's a solid switch in for Tinglu, because it can threaten it, although it does have to worry about like a dark move or something like that. But there is also a chance he like caught on to what I was trying to get at, just like clicking hazards turn 1, and that's why he felt the need to bring Slowbro in right away, because as you can see, he does not have heavy duty boots, because it did take the Stealth Rock damage. So that could have also been a reason to bring him in. But anywho, as he does bring it in, I just click Spike, because again, I just want my hazards, basically. So at this point, I didn't really know what to expect from Slowbro, and I was like, okay, well, if he wants to click Surf or whatever, like, again, I don't care. I just want my hazards up. If he's gonna let me do that, if he's gonna have these Pokemon in that can't like threaten Tinglu with like a one-shot for something, like, I don't know, like Banded Baxcalibur, then I was like, okay, whatever. It's fine. I'm just gonna get up my hazards. Who cares? So he does. I get another Spike, as he does end up going for the Iron Defense. So I was like, okay, he's doing some body press shenanigans. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, should probably watch out for this, because this could get out of hand. I do have Night Slash on Glade, and that does have the crit chance, so like there's a chance I could just muscle through that. But yeah, because I didn't have like a whole lot of special attacking presence on my team. I had Enamorus, and that was like kind of it. I didn't really know how much Moonblast did, so I was like, okay, I should probably watch out for the Slowbro. Just not let it get too crazy. But I do decide I'm just going to get at my last Spike, because I figured I might as well, as he just does go for Body Press, which does a good amount, but I do have the Citrus Berry, so I am able to live this next turn of toxic damage, so that's pretty cool. And now I'm like, okay, the Slowbro, again, because I don't want him to just like go get too out of hand here, and I was like, okay, I could probably preserve my Tinglu here. I don't think there's a need to sack him off just yet. So I decided to go out to Decidueye because I figured it was a pretty good switch in, barring like if he had Ice Beam or Flamethrower or something like that, but I wasn't really expecting that. And obviously he's immune to Body Press, so I figured it was a pretty safe switch in if he wanted to click that again. As he does actually just Iron Defense again, so this thing at +4 was a little bit worrisome, but I wasn't like, okay, I was like, it is still a Slowbro, it's not that threatening for the most part, so I should be able to handle it fairly well. But he does actually just swap here into the Iron Treads, and I guess he was afraid because, you know, obviously the Decidueye is super effective on Slowbro, and maybe he could have been worried about like a special set, right? If I had just like Leaf Storm or Shadow Ball or something, then obviously that would not be good for his Slowbro. So the swap there does make a bit of sense, as he does bring the Treads, and it's going to take all that hazard damage, which is beautiful. That's exactly what I love to see. As I actually just ended up clicking U-turn here because I figured, okay, can get chip on the Slowbro. I could have clicked knockoff and like get rid of his item, but I thought I was like, wait a second, he's not Boots obviously because he took the hazard damage, and he's not in leftovers because I didn't see any lefties recovery. So what item does he have? And I was like, well, my best bet is he's probably Colbur Berry, right? That would be the only other thing I could think of besides running lefties or Boots, right? If he's worried about knockoff. So I figured honestly knockoff's probably not even worth it in that scenario because probably it's not going to do anything if he's Colbur Berry. But in actuality, it turns out he is Rindo Berry for Power Herb, Solar Beam, Heatran, which is a pretty crazy tech. But yes, so it was not Colbur, but I still thought it was Colbur when the match was going on. So I figured I didn't see much of a point in going for knockoff in that scenario. So I do decide just to U-turn now because it could get some chip on Slowbro, and could also I could switch out to something else. And if he did swap out to Slowbro like he did, then that gives me more momentum. And again, I gotta always put on pressure in this match because yeah, his team's just very threatening. I just need to put on more pressure than he can against me. So I decided to bring in Gallade if he has the Treads out, because I was like, okay, Treads was one of the mons I was very, very worried about, because obviously for one thing it can get rid of my hazards, and it's also just a pain for DNC because obviously it's super effective with the Earthquake and the Iron Head, and it can take its dual stab. So that thing, if I wanted any chance to sweep with DNC later, I needed the Treads to be, if not dead, then at the very least, you know, weakened a good bit. So that's something to worry about. But also, it just had really good coverage into my team. I thought, you know, the offensive set had a lot of merit because, like, you know, Iron Head's also good for like Enamorous. Earthquake would be good for like the Heatran and Toxapex if I brought those. And you could run Ice Spinner for stuff like Salamence and Ting Lu and all that stuff. So I thought just like offensive Iron Treads, which I figured he probably would bring it to this match versus me, which it turns out he did. I thought, you know, it'd be nice to just get this thing out of the way if I can, because it's very scary for my team in general. So I decided to go out to Gallade because I am Scarf, so I can outspeed, and I can just get the kill with Sacred Sword. Which, you know, this situation, it would mean revealing my Choice Scarf early on, which is like, you know, having him know that may not be like the best, you know, because he can play around my Gallade more. But I still thought it was worth it, because like, okay, if I can get the kill on Treads here, that would be fantastic, because like, again, it's just puts my team in such a bad spot, right? So I thought, you know, even if he knew I was Scarf, I still thought it was worth it, just like being able to get the kill. So I do just click Sacred Sword here as he stays in, and it does get the kill. So now I'm like, okay, perfect, beautiful. This is beautiful. Trez is down. Dancy has a way better time later on, and now I don't have to worry about him spinning away my hazards. Although, as it turns out, he didn't actually have Rapid Spin at all, which is pretty funny. I think his set was he had Earthquake, Iron Head, Ice Spinner, and then like Knockoff for last or something like that. So he didn't have hazard removal at all, turns out. So I guess I didn't have to worry about that. But nevertheless, I was very, very happy to see the treads go down. So now he brings out Slowbro, takes quite a bit of chip from hazards, although he could just switch out and the regen would get him back close to full. So that's like not the it's not, you know, the most impactful, I suppose, but still. So obviously he knows I'm Scarf now because he was max speed, so that was the only way I could have been faster. So now that he knows I'm locked into Sacred Sword, he's gonna bring in his Slowbro because he knows he can take a hit from it and just like doesn't have to worry about anything. So I decide to go to Decidueye here, I believe, yes, because I was like, okay, Decidueye was mainly here for Iron Treads, but that thing's already down, so I was like, screw it. I might as well, like, he's not that essential at this point, really, so I can, whoa, excuse me, hold on, music, what are you doing? Okay. So yeah, I figured I didn't need Decidueye that much at this point, so I figured I could just bring it in on Slowbro and, like, you know, even if he did have like Ice Beam or Flamethrower or whatever, I still thought, you know, it'd be nice to bring it in on him, because he's a pretty good swap for this thing, as he does predict me actually to bring in this Decidueye, and he goes hard into the back Scalper, which is not good for me. This is the type of situation I do not want to be in at all. And he does actually, I can see that he's boots here because he takes no hazard damage, which is not great, because, you know, I would have really liked that hazard chip, but he's got the boots, unfortunately. So this is a terrible spot for me to be in, because again, Baxcalibur was probably the thing I was scared of most on his team. It's just so threatening, and yeah, now he just has it in for free against my Decidueye, which is very not good. My biggest thing I was afraid of was like, okay, if this thing can just like get a D-Dance up, and at that point it can basically just sweep my whole team, because like at that point, after one D-Dance, assuming he's max speed, then he's already faster than Scarf Gallade, and he's faster than everything else, for that matter. Then he can just, like, you know, pretty much Icicle Crash will just like goob everything on my team, besides maybe DNC. But if he has Earthquake, then that thing's not probably not living. So this thing's very, very bad. So it's like, okay, this thing's out. It's not good. I think my best play here is just to go out to Tinglu and sack it, because I have no good switching for this thing. And I'm just hoping that he doesn't like just try to set up on me, because that would be a very bad scenario here. But yeah, I bring in Tinglu as he clicks Swords Dance. So it's not Dragon Dance, which is still, yeah, I would still I would be more upset at Dragon Dance, so at least he doesn't have that. But Sacred or Swords Dance, excuse me, it's still very scary that he's just like setting up, because I don't like that boost. I don't like it at all. I could at least know that he's boots, and I don't have to worry about a boosting item like Life Orb or something. That, you know, I know he doesn't have that, so that's some comfort, I guess. But, you know, still this SD is still very, very scary. So I was like, okay, here I'm just gonna click Memento, just on the off chance he tries to Swords Dance again, just so I can drop his stats. Because I didn't want him to just like keep setting up, because that would not have been cash money, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, and if he stays in and kills Tinglu, that's fine. Tinglu's already done its job at this point, really, so I'm not that concerned if he dies. I just don't want this thing getting up more Swords Dances. So he does end up just clicking Earthquake here and getting the kill, which is fine, as long as he doesn't get more boosts. That's mainly what I was concerned about. So here I just go right out to Mence, because I was like, okay, I can intimidate it, and now it's at +1 instead of +2. And with my Yachi Berry, I should be able to live an Ice Shard here, and Outrage can get the one shot. So that was my thought process, because I was like, that's just like, this Baxcalibur had me sweating, bros, and I was not trying to get swept by this thing. So I was like, okay, let me just I think it's my best shot, right? Because, you know, I can't really bring anything else, because everything else is probably going to die to either +2 Ice Shard or Earthquake. So I thought getting the Intimidate off was my best bet, and should let me live an Ice Shard with my Yachi Berry, which I do end up living with 20% left, and I do click the Outrage and get the one shot. So at this point, I'm like, okay, this is like going swimmingly, because his two biggest threats, in my opinion, the ones I was most worried about, are already down. So I'm like, this is looking phenomenal. I got all my hazards up. This is going really great for you, boy. Because I'll be honest, I didn't have that much confidence going into this match. I didn't think the odds were that much in my favor, but I had this very strong lead here, so I was like, okay, this is looking really good, actually. I'm really liking how this is going out. If I can just keep up these type of plays and just like pick off his team, then there is hope of me coming out on top. So he does just go out to his Salazzle because he does know. Well, actually, I thought he was gonna go out to his Lycanroc and just click a Solrock here to get the kill on me. But as it turns out, he doesn't actually have a Solrock, which is interesting. But yeah, he just brings in Salazzle here instead, which, you know, it is still faster, so it can outspeed get the kill. And I guess, you know, he didn't want to bring in Lycanroc because he didn't want to risk the Stone Edge or like Play Rough miss, which is fair. So yeah, it just brings in Salazzle. So the downside of this is that since I am locked into Outrage, I can't swap. And like, so he could just stay in here and get the kill on me, which is not ideal, obviously, because it does mean I lose my Ments, but I was still fine with this outcome because I was like, okay, Bax is down. That was like, I was willing to give up Ments for that because Baxcalibur was just so damn scary. So if Ments went down, that was fine. I was not too concerned about it. So now I decided to go out to DNC because I figured I could probably potentially get a sweep going if I could set up. Now I do if DNC gets poisoned, that's really not ideal for me. I don't want DNC to get poisoned if I can help it, because that just, I feel like that's very not optimal if I'm trying to stay in and set up. But I didn't really think I had a better option because Namorous is slower, so it's probably just going to die to a Sludge Bomb. Decidueye can't do much, and Gallade can't do enough damage to get the kill, because this thing resists Sacred Sword, so it's not, from that health I can't get the kill on it with Gallade. So I just thought dancing was my best bet here. I didn't really know what other play to make, so I was like, dancing might get poisoned here, which sucks, but honestly I think it is what it is. I just gotta go with it. So my idea here, basically, I would click Diamond Storm. If he stays in, hopefully get the kill. But if he switches out, then there's a chance I could get the defense boost, which would be wonderful, because then I could have an easier time setting up. Because if I get the defense boost, I didn't really have to worry about that much, honestly, because Lycanroc, kind of a non-issue at that point. If my defense is boosted, the Decidueye could be a little scary, I guess, but I think with plus defense, like, I can like take a grass move or whatever and like just click Draining Kiss, get my health back. And Slowbro, I wasn't that concerned about it. I was like, I probably just like Calm Mind in front of that thing. So yeah, I was feeling good in this position. So I just click Diamond Storm because I think it's my best move. As he does just Protect, just to see what I'm doing, which is like, okay, whatever. I lose one Diamond Storm PP, which isn't great because I don't have that many. And I want all the chances for defense boosts I can get, but I mean, it is what it is. So I just stay in and click it again because I'm like, it's whatever. As he reveals the Disable, and I was like, what is this man cooking here? He's got the Protect Disable strats. That is what is going on here. So obviously I can't click Diamond Storm now because I'm disabled. So this is not a great spot for me here because my other moves are Body Press and Draining Kiss, and neither of those are going to do enough to Salazzle. So I'm like, okay, I pretty much have to switch here, right? Because I don't want Salazzle to poison me for free. So yeah, I just got to Decidueye because I was like, okay, you're like the most expendable at this point. If you go down, and it's not that big of an issue. So yeah, as he just goes for Toxic, which is fine. Again, Decidueye is okay if he goes down. I don't need him that much at this point. So here I just go hard out to Dancy. I think, because I was expecting like the Protect, right? So I was like, let me just like bring DNC in right away, as he does go for the protect. So at this point, I'm like, okay, now that I know what his tricks are, he's got this disable shenanigans. I'm expecting him to protect again here. I'm going to set up Calm Mind, because that way I have a boost, and if he wants to try to disable me next turn, well, then I can still click Diamond Storm, because that's not going to be disabled, so I can still threaten him that way. So I do that, as he actually just goes straight for the poison. So I don't know if he knew that I had a setup move. I doubt it. I'm not that sure why he didn't click Protect here. Because I would have thought, like, because he knows I have Diamond Storm, he's probably just gonna like do the same shtick again, right? But I figured, I guess, Matt did tell me after this battle that he wasn't that like concerned about Salazzle, really. He was kind of fine letting it go down. So that could explain why he didn't like feel the need to scout out or anything like that. He could have just like clicked Toxic and just like let Salazzle go down. In that scenario, just like get the poison off on DNC, which is, I guess that's understandable. But I'm still playing around this Salazzle that like I'm expecting him to try to preserve it, which as we'll see complicates things a bit later on. So I do click the Calm Mind. So now DNC's poison. This is not great. It's not what I wanted. But I'm like, okay. So now this puts me in an awkward spot, because I'm like, okay, now does he go protect this turn, or is he just gonna go straight for disable, or what? Because if he clicks protect again, then my play would be to Calm Mind again, right? But if he clicks disable and I click Calm Mind, then that's that's bad. But if I click Diamond Storm and he clicks protect, then he can click disable the next turn, and then my Diamond Storm is disabled. So this is a very awkward spot for me here. So he does protect, as I do go for the Diamond Storm. I was expecting, I didn't think he'd protect again. I figured he would just click disable just to stop me from setting up, since he saw I had Calm Mind. But clearly that was not the correct play, because he does protect, and now he can just disable the next turn. And then I can't go for Diamond Storm. So it is not going great for me. So again, I swap, because I know he's gonna do the disable stuff, as I just bring in the Decidueye, and he goes for Sludge Bomb, which is like, actually does quite a bit. There's like a good amount, but I was like, okay, whatever, I don't care, because the thing's just annoying. So I just stay in and I click Roost. Yeah, because Roost was like a decent mid ground, right? Because if he attacked me, I could like take the hit and heal up. But if he wanted to protect again, because I figured that was a possibility, just like because he wanted like more poison damage on me to rack up, because that is, that's what this Salazzle set likes to do, is just like stall out with poison. So I figured protect was a possibility. So I figured if he did that, I can just Roost up back to full. But he does just go for the attacking move, but I can still heal up basically back to full, so that's not that big of an issue. So here he protects, as I just click knockoff, which is like whatever. Obviously not great, but it's like, actually no, I'm forgetting my thought process this match, because it was a few days ago. Actually, I clicked knockoff intentionally here, because I was like, okay, now he's gonna protect, and I don't want him to disable me, because what I wanted to go for here is U-turn, so I can switch out and get the momentum. But I figured if he's gonna protect, then I can't click U-turn, because then he would disable me the next turn. So here I click knockoff instead, so that way if he goes for disable, I can still go for U-turn, which is exactly what happens. He disables me, but I still get the U-turn off, which is what I wanted. So this is still fine for me. So I pop his air balloon, which is like whatever, doesn't really matter. And now I bring out my Glade, because I'm like, I don't remember the cal, because I feel like there was like a chance. Actually, no, you still had too much HP for me to get the kill with Glade here. But I figured I could bring it in and like threaten him with Glade. Maybe there's something you wanted to do here. But also, the other reason I brought Glade in is because, like, okay, he disabled this turn, protected the last turn. He probably just wants to keep clicking protect, right? 'Cause that's what he's been doing. So I want another chance to get in Dancy safely, and I want to get Dancy in on a turn where he can't just click protect again, and I can just click Diamond Storm and get the kill on this thing. That was my thought process. So I was like, okay, I am bringing Gallade here, and if he protects, I can click teleport. Never mind. This is not. That didn't happen. What was I doing this turn? Wait a second. Now I'm confused. Now I'm forgetting how this battle went. Bringing Gallade. I guess I was just trying to switch around. Okay, so that didn't happen. Okay, so forget that. I bring Decidueye as he protects. Yes. So I was like, yeah, because I clicked U-turn and I was like, okay, this thing's still not low enough for Gallade to do much really. So I was like, okay, Decidueye, I'll just like, I U-turned, and you know, in hindsight, clicking knockoff would have let me do more damage against this thing. Now it's not going to do that much because his air balloon's already gone. So yeah, but I was like, okay, I can still, because I'm trying to just get Chip on Salazzle here, so that way Gallade can potentially get the kill with Sacred Sword, right? If it's weakened enough, because Sacred Sword does like over 50% to Salazzle, even though it resists. So I was like, if I can just get enough Chip on this thing, then it's not much of an issue. So yes, I U-turn out just for the Chip, and then I bring the Decidueye back out as he protects, and I think I just click Roost again. Yes, because I know he's going to protect. Just get my HP back. Here I turn into a Ghost type just so I take less from Sludge Bomb, since I am no longer a Grass type, which he does go for the Sludge Bomb, and I take quite well, honestly, since I do resist. And now I go for the knockoff and still do a good amount of damage. So now Salazzle is chipped to the point where Gallade can get the kill with Sacred Sword. So now this is what I wanted. So now he disables me, which is whatever, because I think I just click U-turn here anyway. Yep. And now I bring in Gallade. So now, you know, I'm thinking, okay, he might know I'm able to get the kill here because he's weak enough. He might want to go to Slowbro, which I guess I could click Night Slash there in that situation. Let me just actually wait. Is this the turn? I think. Yes. Okay. So. Here is where I'm like, okay, he's gonna protect. So, if he protects here, I can go for the. Never mind. I'm getting this so mixed up. Oh my goodness. Anywho, excuse me. This is this part of the battle is a bit of a blur, if I'm being honest. Anywho, so I go for Night Slash on his protect. Yes, because I was like, okay. Slowbro switching is very possible here, because it's like, you know, I figured that was like most likely. But even if he stayed in, I was like, okay, Night Slash should still get the kill on Salazzle. So I figured that was probably my safest play, as he does protect here. So I'm like, okay, now he knows that I'm locked in to Night Slash. So I figured he's probably, I thought his most likely play was to bring in Decidueye, because I was like, that thing is his Dark Resist, so he can just come in on the Night Slash pretty easily, and then he can just do whatever from there. And again, I didn't know what he was trying to do with the Decidueye at this point. It was, you know, it was, you know, I was very cautious of it, because I was like, I don't know what he's bringing. So at this point, I'm like, okay, there's a few possibilities that could happen. You can swap the Decidueye on the Night Slash, or you could leave Salazzle in, or you can swap to something else. But I was thinking to myself, okay, because I was like, I think he's switching to Decidueye, and I was like, I cannot let him get the advantage at whenever possible. I have to make the aggressive plays to try to outmaneuver him. And if he's going into Decidueye, I don't want that to just come in for free. So here, I decide to go hard out to my Enamorus, predicting the swap to Decidueye, but he does end up actually just clicking Sludge Bomb, and it one-shots my Enamorus. So in retrospect, that play probably was not worth the risk at all of him staying in, because again, he was like, at this point he didn't care about Salazzle that much. He was fine if it went down, so that's why he just stayed in. But I was still getting in my head that like, because I thought that the Decidueye swap was definitely coming, and I wanted Enamorus out just so I can be in a better spot. I just didn't want him to switch in free, but he just stayed in and clicked Sludge Bomb. So that's not needless to say, that was a slip up on my part. Funny enough, this is the second time that I've sacked off Enamorus for absolutely no reason. Because yeah, so that's a bit embarrassing. So at this point, I'm like, all right. This is not, obviously does not put me in a good spot. Again, that was probably like, that was way too risky a play. I probably should not have made it. But it is what it is. So now I go back out to Clay because I can still threaten the kill. And yeah, but the Slowbro in the back is still worrisome for Gallade, as he just clicks Protect here. And here is where I go for the teleport, because I'm like, all right, if he clicks Protect, because normally if you switch out normally on Protect, then normally you would just fail. But if I stay in and teleport, the Protect will still go off. And that way I can bring in Diancie for free here, because now he can't Protect again, and I can click Diamond Storm, and either he stays in and dies, or something comes in and takes Chip. So I'm like, okay, now this is what I want. This is what I wanted. So I do get to show off Teleport on Gallade. It did actually did get to use it this match, so that's hype. The hidden tech pulls through. Yes, so now I have the Diancie out, and I think I do just click Diamond Storm, right? Yes, as he just stays in Sludge Bomb for some Chip, and Salazzle goes down finally. So I don't get the defense boost, which is a little unfortunate, but at least Salazzle's knocked out, and now he brings in the Decidueye. So again, I do not know what to expect on this thing at all. So I'm like, okay, I can probably just switch into my own Decidueye, and like it's fine, right? Because I can't think of that much he can do to me. And again, if I use the Decidueye goes down, I don't really need him. At this point, I'm just trying to I'm banking on Gallade to win the game for me, because I feel like he's my best bet. So yeah, I go to Decidueye and see what he does as he Terra Steals and clicks Trailblaze. So I was like, okay. So a couple things. For one, he's boosting his speed, which is not great. But also on the other hand, he turned into a Steel type, so now he's weak to Sacred Sword. So that actually helps me out with this thing versus Gallade. But the fact that I see him clicking Trailblaze and getting speed boosts is I'm not a fan, really. So yes, this is a rough spot for me, because I can't stop him from clicking Trailblaze again. And if he clicks if he gets 2 speed boosts, then I think assuming he is max speed, he should be faster than my Gallade, which is very bad, to say the least. So at this point, I'm not really sure what to do. I think what do I do? He Trailblazes again, and I roost. Okay, because I was like, I guess I think maybe I can outpace this thing if I can heal up. Although it's not, I don't really know. There's not that much I can do with this thing, right? I can knock it off, I guess, and get rid of leftovers. But I was like, okay. I mean, if he's gonna get another Trailblaze up anyway, then because I didn't really have I couldn't bring in the other 2, right? Because if I bring in Diancie, it's gonna Trailblaze is super effective. It's gonna take too much, and if I bring in Gallade, well, after another Trailblaze is gonna be faster than me anyway, most likely. So I was like, neither of those are really the play. So I just figured maybe Decidueye can try to 1v1 this thing, because I still didn't really know what he was bringing with this thing, right? So I'm taking poison damage, and now he clicks SD. I'm like, okay, yikes. This is not what I wanted to happen, because he's just setting up in my face. I'm like, okay, this is very bad. This is not what I want to see. And here I click the knockoff just to get rid of the leftovers and get some chip, but it's not looking great because the toxic damage is doing too much, and now he's +2/+2. So here he clicks the Terra Blast and knocks out my Decidueye. So yeah, this is bad. So I go into Glade. So I'm thinking if he's not max speed, then there is a chance I am still faster with my Scarf. So I was like, okay, I think it's my my final hope, because obviously DNC's not taking a hit. If he's +2, like definitely not. So there's no point going out to that. So I just figured bring in Glade and hope I'm still faster, but I'm not. And he clicks the Terra Blast and Glade goes down. So yeah, now he just clicks it again on DNC and it gets knocked out, and that's the game. So this was I was quite disappointed in myself after this game, just because I felt like I had such a strong opening the first few turns, and then I just like slipped up real bad. I just misplayed around that Salazzle so much, just because I was like I just like got into my head that like he would try to preserve it when he just like left it out. It was just like basically sacking it because he didn't care if it went down. That was like I really felt like I misplayed around it a lot. Now in hindsight, I found out after the battle that he actually had Scarf Lycanroc, because he was like, the thing he was most afraid of was like agility Glade, so he ran Scarf on Lycanroc with Play Rough just so like he could be faster even after an agility and just get the kill with Play Rough. So that thing was faster than my whole team. So because my whole plan with Lycanroc was like, okay, I can bring in Glade and I'm Scarf, so I'm faster, so I can kill it with Sacred Sword. But knowing that he was Scarf, obviously that wouldn't have worked. So in hindsight, I'm pretty sure I just lost to Lycanroc anyway. Like, I think the thing just like beat my whole team basically, because it would have just got the kill on Enamorus regardless. I mean, if DNC was at full, could have taken a hit. But it's also like I don't really know what I would do, because I think he was Terra Fairy, I'm pretty sure. So if he went Terra Fairy, then like I couldn't click Body Press, right, which would normally be the move I click on Lycanroc. But if he turned into a Fairy type, then he would have taken the hit pretty easily. So I don't even think DNC could have done that much to it. So yeah, knowing that made the loss a little less hurtful, but like, because like again, I think that thing just won regardless. But still, I was a bit sad at this outcome. The setup Decidueye was a crazy bring. I was not expecting that whatsoever, but it clearly worked out. So yeah, this was I mean, good game to the Don as always. Because that's the GOAT. Don't forget it. He's a very good battler around the parts. But yeah, just again felt like I had such a strong opening, and I just kind of threw it away at the end. So that's on me. So I did still feel like I put up a good fight against the Don. But yeah, I saw the glimmer of hope there, thinking I had a shot to win. But alas, it was not to be. So currently my record in the league is 2-3. So I have 3 losses already. So honestly, I am not. I don't know what the odds are of me getting into playoffs. I think there's still a slim chance, but in order for that to happen, I think I have to win my next 2 matches, because it's only 2 more weeks left to playoffs. So if I win my next 2 matches, then I'll be at have a 4-3 record, which would mean I'd won a majority of my matches, which I think that could be enough to get me into playoffs. But at that point, I still don't even know, because like I don't even know what my like point differential would be, and like if that would make a difference. So honestly, I don't know what the odds are looking like here. It's not looking great, but there's still a chance if I can win my next 2 matches. And I'm feeling, you know, despite my performance this week, I'm feeling reasonably confident that I can win 2 more matches. And if that happens, then you know what, we might still make playoffs, baby. But I guess we'll have to see. So yeah, that's gonna be the video. Thank you all for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please go ahead and check out the Don, of course, if you have not already, because he is the GOAT. He's got the best content out there. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's got the only content out there. So, you know, by default, it's the best content, but it would be the best content regardless, because it's just so high quality. You also need to know. Check out the Pickies video. That shit goes crazy. But yes, that's gonna be for me. Thank you all for watching. I will see you for my next match. Yeah, hopefully we can still make playoffs and turn this around, but we will see what happens. Anyway, take care.